Item number 10, the City Council will discuss and take action to authorize the city manager to take all appropriate action to enforce the inclusive volunteer fire protection agreement between the city and the Windcrest Volunteer Fire Department Bugle crew, including the engagement and payment of attorneys selected by the city manager.
I move that this item be struck from the agenda. Article 3, Section 3.10 clearly states that items may be placed on the agenda by the request of the mayor, the city manager, or a city council member. I could find no authority in the charter or the code which allows the city attorney to place an item on the agenda.
Mr. Brennan.
I agree with what you said, Mayor. But it's my understanding that the city manager is the one that placed this item on the agenda. I recommended to him that this item be included in the agenda, and it's my understanding he did that. It doesn't say I put it on the agenda. I just requested that this item be put on the agenda.
So who put it on the agenda?
I asked for it to be placed, but Mr. Brennan helped me prepare this item.
Okay, so the city
I need a guidance from the council on this item.
Guidance from the council, who?
Me.
Okay. So you put this on the agenda?
Yes, I put the item on the agenda. Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Therefore, I move that the city...
Wait a minute. Are we, I just want to make sure we're done with whatever it is you...
If our city manager said he placed it on the agenda, then it's totally within...
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Mr. Shelton.
I move that the city manager be authorized to take all appropriate action to enforce the exclusive authority of the Windcrest Volunteer Fire Department Bugle crew to represent the city and the Windcrest Fire Department in connection with fundraising for those entities to prevent any other organization from using branding, facilities, property, or personnel owned by or subject to the control of the city and the Windcrest Fire Department for any business or fundraising purposes. This authority includes the engagement and payment of attorneys selected by the city manager to accomplish the foregoing activities.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
Well, I think that my first question, if we can ask this question, is if I read this agreement, which I saw was delivered to me tonight for the first time, the city manager entered into a contract with this entity to provide fire service for the city. Is that correct?
The answer is yes.
Okay. So the line item for the fire department is in excess of $300,000. Is that correct?
I don't have it memorized, but that probably is.
It probably is. So basically, we're going to pay this organization to provide our fire service. Or are they going to do it for free?
Pretty much, we were still being charged of the fire department. They were just volunteers to help us provide services for the community.
So
all the assets belong to the city of Windcrest.
So who's in charge of the budget?
We will be responsible for the budget and the maintenance of the facilities and all the assets in general.
Okay, so we have an entity that you contracted with to provide fire service.
The city of Windcrest contracted with that entity to provide fire services, but we control all the assets.
Through you?
Through the city of Windcrest.
Okay, but you were the person who negotiated this contract?
Pretty much, yes, ma'am.
Okay. My question is there a dollar value connected to this contract?
In reference that we control the assets are definitely under the authority of the city of Windcrest. There's no issues or any differences that the assets belong to the association and all that.
Okay, but the operating budget for the fire department.
That's correct.
That is under whose authority?
The fire department belongs to the city of Windcrest. The volunteers will get the assistance. I mean, we'll get we'll provide the services for the fire. This is a lot clearer contract than we had before, and it separates a lot of liabilities that were not very clear in the past. As you recall, well, you probably do not recall, you were not here, but if when you have a chance and you read all the documentation that was provided to you, it gives all the reasons and all the pros of why we decided to do this. There's a huge liability that was left in limbo the way it was before. And we honestly believe that with these decisions that were made, even as painful as they are, will definitely provide less liabilities, and they'll divide the liabilities. It'll definitely become, the assets will be a lot more clear who they belong to and the responsibilities.
Okay, I think that if you're acting in the position of protecting me, I thank you very much. My question was, under what authority, how did this happen? I mean, there was never a motion. There was never an agendized item that carried with it a motion that was supported by documents in the agenda to allow you to go forward with this. I mean, I think if I understand this correctly, and I don't know if we can discuss this or not, but I think what happened was that on October 16th, there was an item on the agenda. I believe Ms. Dobson referenced this, and the agenda item read, City Council will convene an open session to review, discuss, and may take action on a matter involving fire department tax status. That was the agenda item. A motion was made. There wasn't any documentation with that item, and a motion was made to authorize the city manager to negotiate and finalize the fire protection agreement with the Windcrest Volunteer Fire Department Bugle Crew to be formed a nonprofit corporation comprised of volunteers organized to provide fire and protection services within the city of Windcrest, and to take any necessary action, including payment of legal fees for the formation of the entity and the filing fees and costs. So you acted under that. That's why you went forward and did this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Brennan, can you explain to me how this motion was made based on this agenda item without any documentation?
Well, there doesn't have to be documentation on the table to make a motion instructing the city manager to do something.
Okay, but can you tell me how this motion came out of this agenda item? How was the public to know that this was up for discussion?
Well, you know, agenda items don't have to cover all the details of what's going to be talked about or discussed. The purpose of an agenda item under the Open Meetings Act is to notify the public that a topic will be discussed at a meeting. And I don't have it in front of me either, but I think that there was an agenda item that said there would be discussion about the fire department or
the agenda item read, City Council will convene an open session to review, discuss, and may take action on a matter involving fire department tax status.
Well, it said going to discuss fire department. As far as I'm concerned, tax status is one element or one piece of it, but I don't think it limited it or restricted it to just talking about the tax status.
So you are of the opinion that that agenda item gave the public enough information to allow them to be aware, pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, that this was going to happen?
The motion was broader than the actual motion was broader than the agenda item, but the agenda item's purpose is to provide a topic for discussion.
I understand that, and I'm asking your opinion.
In my opinion, the fire department reference put notice out there to the public in all the different ways it gets it, that there was going to be a discussion about fire department affairs.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Well, yes, I still have a point of information. You want me to repeat it? I still like to get clarification.
About the motion or about something else? The motion.
I just want a point of information. I'm asking.
You want a point of information? Okay.
Yes. What I want to know is the questions I ask. And the questions I asked were basically, I said, there's precedents. Do I have a right for that information to get the list of firefighters?
Okay,
and the other one, are they employees?
I would respectfully tell you that that's not part of the agenda item.
Apparently that doesn't matter. We said fire department in it.
You said fire department. Well,
okay. This is what I'm going to ask you to do, okay?
Okay. I need an answer.
And I think you can probably get an answer. I don't think it's part of this motion. I think that you can, we can get, actually, the item number 11 talks about the firefighters who were terminated.
So we can
So,
carry it then.
what's that?
We can wait till then.
Okay, so the motion, and just so I'm clear, the motion is not the same that's in the agenda, and so there is some differences that you read, and so I would ask you to repeat that if possible, because it's not the same as it's in here.
I move that the city manager be authorized to take all appropriate action to enforce the exclusive authority of the Windcrest Volunteer Fire Department Bugle crew to represent the city and the Windcrest Fire Department in connection with fundraising for those entities, and to prevent any other organization from using branding, facilities, property, or personnel owned by or subject to the control of the city and the Windcrest Fire Department for any business or fundraising purposes. This authority includes the engagement and payment of attorneys selected by the city manager to accomplish the foregoing activities.
I second that motion.
It's already been moved and
It's been second already.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Item number 11, anyone discuss? City Council will discuss firing policy for volunteers